What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here in this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, normally I would save this for one of the answering comments videos, but those usually get a very select few folks that like to go into the deep dive analysis with me, and I appreciate all of you. I figured this is actually something that is fascinating. I got to give a shout out to Christopher Charles for going through it. And I thought it'd be interesting for a wider audience, the people that come through for the short form videos rather than the answering comments. So this is Christopher answering or commenting on like the Splinterlands player count is finally accurate. I'm going to read this to you and then just give some thoughts at the end, right? So Christopher says, this analysis reminds me of what I was doing during the bull run, 2021. I watched the player base go up about 5% per day from 2,000 to 27,000, and I got all excited about Furious Chickens. They were the most played card in the game by far at the time, and there were only 27,000 copies. My thesis was these things would skyrocket and rental value would explode. I bought 50 of them for, I think, about $50 per BCX. And then we ran to 100,000 players, and they remained at $50, and the rentals didn't budge, but the card remained the most played card. Then we went to 200,000 players. It stayed the same. Then 300,000, 400,000, finally 500,000 players, and the chicken demand never budged, even though it remained the most played card. At about 150,000 players, it was the chickens not moving that solidified in my mind that all the growth we were experiencing was from expanding bot farms that were only using ghost cards. It was right then that I realized if the game responded with massive card releases, we're effed. I brought it up to the team, and they said it's not a worry because even if it's mostly bots, the growth will bring in tons of real players soon to absorb all the cards. And to this day, the team is still thinking hundreds of thousands of real players are right around the corner, just chomping at the bit, and we remain effed. So, okay. Look, Christopher is a frequent commenter here. I appreciate him for leaving this. Whether or not this is true, whether or not, he's just taking us for a ride, it doesn't really matter, right? So if people are coming and they're just like, oh, this is just hindsight is 2020 or he's making it up, it doesn't matter. What is interesting is the analysis done here, real or not. And again, I'm going to assume that it's real because I don't know that Christopher would just make this up. I'm going to assume that it's real because it's fascinating to see what would be the metric in 24, 25, 26, whenever the next bull run happens, and we potentially start to see player growth that would help us delineate real or distinguish real players from artificial growth, right? And so obviously we've done, when I say we collectively, the team, DAO, and everything, have done a good job of removing a lot of the artificial player base that was coming in and, primarily extracting value from the ecosystem. I think, personally, that when things get crazy, if and when things get crazy again, even for Splinterlands, as long as Splinterlands can be a part of that in any way, we could potentially see that again, right? Because what I'm trying to get at here is like, if SPS, and I know we're talking hypotheticals, but SPS goes to like 20 cents or something like that. If SPS goes to 20 cents and all of a sudden, you see a bunch of accounts that realize that even botting in wild with minimum cards, getting SPS at 20 cents, they'll easily pay the wild pass. You see all these accounts coming in. What are going to be the things that we should be looking at? Now, I don't necessarily have the answers here, and I'm not saying it's going to be Furious Chicken again, but this was just a perfect example, in my opinion, or like perfect example of an analysis that we could do, because at that time, I don't know that anybody was really paying attention to this. We were all so caught up in the hype of what was going on. But now there's way more assets. Now, obviously the game has changed tremendously in terms of what's required in order to earn. So what are the things that we could look at? And I'm just putting this out there to the community now where we can just brainstorm this because I think it's fascinating. But what are the things that we would be looking at to see, hey, people, if they're in the game, if they're real, would be buying XYZ asset or XYZ card, for example, right? And if we're not seeing that demand come in, it might be artificial. Now, I think it's going to be significantly more difficult for a lot of those bots or bot farms to come back in. But like I said earlier, if the incentive is there and they are willing to pay all of the requirements, meaning they're willing to rent cards, rent SPS, pay the wild pass, that's when we should start taking a look at this. I mean, yes, it's going to be fun and exciting. Hopefully SPS is going up. Hopefully some card values are going up and we're seeing the numbers skyrocket. But now this has me thinking we should probably set not just one, but maybe several assets or cards that we should be looking at. In my opinion, I mean, Chicken's still great. As long as we're still in Modern, I would look at probably Fiends. Again, similar like, 0 mana cards that everybody uses, maybe some of the neutral cards. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on what would be the things, cards, land, assets, whatever you think would be that we should focus in on if and when that starts to happen and we start to see, potentially tremendous growth. That way we can tell what's real and what's not and hopefully make more informed decisions. But again, thank you to Chris for sharing this. Like I said, it was just a fascinating comment. I wanted to share it with the broader group here. So that is all I have for you guys in this video. I will catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.